Now I wanted to get a real early start on this weekend. We had a lot of things to do and we got to see a lot of interesting new bikes, so let me get right to the little photo album. I wanted to get a ride in on the RD. Haven't ridden the RD in 3 or 4 weeks. We had to get Tim ready. Tim's on his way up to, as we put this on YouTube, Tim is on his way up to Nova Scotia. We got a clock mounted on here now, which I really like having that clock as part of the whole get home on time experience that I'm sure we all have to do. So Saturday I wanted to take Sophia out for a nice little ride, and of course every nice little ride starts with a trip up to Luciano's to deliver his Ducati parts. He's got his new foot pegs on the Ducati, and I always try to document what some of the little things he's had working. And he's got his red Ducati now. He's got a new clutch for that. He wanted to show me the new Barnett clutch basket. Barnett clutch parts. This is the old one, and if you put one in each hand, I mean, one is really heavy. I think it's 3.5 pounds more. But as you can imagine, we have a track day coming up on September 1st, so Luciano's looking to get everything as ready and prepared as he possibly can be. And when I looked at this Barnett clutch real closely, but if I ever have to put a clutch in any of my bikes, I'll look and see if Barnett makes one. It looked like the workmanship was really nice. And this is what happens to the Ducati clutch. This is the one from the yellow bike that pretty well, you know, chattered itself to oblivion. And this is the nice new Barnett ones. But again, now that he's got 2 Ducatis, and he had a 748 in the background, a 916, and I've got some of the mirrors I already have painted, some of the other little tidbits on the 748 are done, and he's just enjoying every minute. He's got the gold gas cap, Chinese gas caps, 24 bucks. Some of the other parts of the clutch. Beautiful workmanship on those parts. And here we're looking at, this is funny. It was supposed to be real nice today, and it was. We just really lucked out with this ride and this weather. And when it's like this, and we were one of the first ones up on the mountain, it was just heavenly. Of course, the first 2 hours in the morning, there's basically nobody in the park to bother you. Very few bikes and pedestrians. Had some guys pull in. This was interesting with RC51. Now, this is an interesting little story. This guy, and again, we were chatting with him for a while. This bike only has 1,100 miles on it. He had used it, and when he started his family, he put the bike away for a while in storage, and while his kids were growing up, and this was this Sunday that I took this picture, was the first day he said he was out on the bike. And he had a couple of his friends. Of course, all the guys with the Ducatis look to see who's got the most carbon fiber parts and who's got the most chrome wing nuts and whatever. But we really did enjoy the company. We really had a good time. And these guys, both of these guys did track days. They did them where we do them too. So it was real nice, and everybody's looking over each other's bike. And we have what we call the usual suspects that always look at everything. They always want to know if it's a real Ferrari, and yeah, we always manage to scam a few of them once in a while. And then Luciano adds his 2 cents in too. But the RC51 was really nice. To see a bike that old with only 1,100 miles, that's pretty unique. And I thought, out of the back of my eye, because I was looking through a camera lens, I thought this was, there's an air coupe that buzzes the mountain every once in a while. This was not him, of course, but they come pretty close. And then I wanted to show Larry this. This group of guys came in with, I'm not sure if it was a club or they just had gotten together, And a few of them had these older, and this looks pretty similar to the 500 that Larry has, and since we're trying to get ready for a track day, they had a bunch of the 250s, and it basically like, I'll call it the Ninja Club for lack of a better word. A couple of women riding. But then one of my favorites, and I wanted to sit on this bike. I wanted to see how awkward it is for somebody like me to get on and off of these bikes that have a real high seat, and I wanted to see how it felt. And then this, of course, is a 250. And so after I sat on it, I said, wow, not bad at all. Not bad at all. Now I know Ray has some Kawasaki off-road, on-road bikes, but this one was really nice and comfortable. And of course the usual suspects, Joe was up there. Now this was a unique Ducati. This is one of the last ones of the air cools that they made. It's got, oh, they said 100 horsepower, and it's got a lot of little goodies on it. But one of the things I liked is knowing that it's the last of the air-cooled Ducatis, so this would be somewhere down the road, I'm sure, will become a collector's item. We're looking at the wheels, because now with Luciano, he's looking at every aspect of Ducati, even these plated nuts that go on a wheel and stuff. It's like decorating a Christmas tree, I guess. I don't know. Then the show ended. What happened is we heard this guy coming up the mountain, and this is a really interesting story. Now, of course, there aren't that many CBXs around, so when one shows up, a 6-cylinder Honda, you look at it real close. When I looked at it real close, and I was so impressed with how neat and clean it was, and I mean, it was whistle clean. And I noticed, of course, that he had the turbo conversion on there, which got to be extra work and extra maintenance and whatever. But the coolest thing is we started talking to the guy. And I asked him about all of the stuff that's involved in this. Now, one of the neat things is, he said this is not a restored bike. It's a bike that somebody in Georgia makes these. I don't know who it is. Maybe somebody else out there knows. But he makes them all from new parts or repro parts. And so for all, and I'm sure it's not cheap, for all purposes, it's a brand new bike. Now, I don't know how you register something like that, but again, it's an unusual machine. No matter what angle you look at it. And this was from the same era as my GS. Obviously a custom seat. And he was riding two up. He had a lady on the back. And it's got the real Comstar wheels and what look like the spindly skinny forks that came with the bike. And again, you got to look at this from a lot of different angles. And the chrome valve cover sits outside, I mean, 6 or 8 inches on each side of the tank, and the tank is pretty wide. So, very unusual bike. No matter what angle you look at, it's really, this one was really, really nice. This was an exceptional bike. Now, I don't know, once you, once you put a turbo on it, I don't know what the difference in power is or whatever, but even if this was dead stock, it would be beautiful. And he said the guy that made the bike, the guy that assembled it or put it together, was from Georgia. You know, we were looking over the BMWs, of course, and everybody has some comment whether they like it or they don't like it, or it's too big or too small or whatever. Nice picture of my shoes. I don't know how that got taken. and the Harley I like the best. I like this even better than the V-Rod. Kind of has that flat tracker look. And we were arguing for a while about, you know, what part of this should you customize next. These things are so pointless, so eclectic. One guy says leave it stock, one guy says chrome the whole thing out, one guy says yeah, put this on, put a windshield on it. And one of the ladies that we met up there, she does track days. Now this is a little story. I was speaking to her, this is the first time I've met her, and to be honest I don't know her name, but I will find out. And she has a set of pink leathers that she uses on track day. And so I was just thinking we ought to get Luciano to dress up in those pink leathers. And well, that's where we're going to end that story, but we'll have more, and we'll see her again up there, and she knows all the usual suspects. So, but the pink leathers, I can't wait to see Luciano in the pink leathers. But anyway, and our other half of the weekend we wanted to get some riding on the old RD. And anytime I ride the RD, I just have to, it brings back so many memories. We got to get the track bike ready. It's pretty much ready, but, and if Larry's going to go, he's got to get his track bike ready too. So the lift has been working perfectly. Ray and Malcolm and all the people that have these lifts, Pokey's got one I think, these things really work well. Worth every penny. And so they predicted rain all day. It was as cloudy as can be, but we decided to ride anyway. And this turned out to be pretty much fun. We went up to Eagle's Nest. Luciano's son was riding with us. Tried to get a couple of pictures, and you can see the rain in the background, the clouds. Of course, Joe had the MV Augusta. But you can see that the rain is coming in. Now, the first half of this ride was pretty dry and nice and everything. And we always try to get a couple pictures of the bike just for the memory bank. But then we ran into, and every weekend, every day you ride, there's always a new adventure. And this was the adventure. Now, we ran into these people, nice people from Canada. And this is really, I walked over and, you know, introduced myself. I said, wow, I love that seat. And I said, Then I looked at the seat from another angle and I said, wow, that is really, I'm thinking had I look on my bike or something, on my R1, I don't know. But look where the passenger rides, they got the inner tube thing underneath the seat. And I thought, now I had never seen that before. That was pretty cool. And to be honest, I was impressed. That's some pretty high-tech technology there. So, like you always do whenever you meet new people on motorcycles, everybody exchanges some stories, and it turns out that today, this day, everybody on top of the mountain, or on Eagle's Nest here, spoke Italian, except for me. And we were looking at the Valkyrie, of course. It's a modified Goldwing kind of motor. And the people had just come in from the Buffalo area, and so they followed us up to, look at the license plate, they followed us up to Perkins so they could go up into the lookout tower. And when we got there, we just missed. There was a Bugatti Veyron there, and the Ranger had taken pictures of it, but I couldn't get them on my camera. They're just not bright enough. So there were some guys in sports cars, and of course, pretty much the usual guys that hang out with bikes. But again, there's always something new. There's always something that wasn't there the week before that makes the ride worthwhile. And especially, you have the usual people that all want to see, oh, I had an RD when I was a kid, and I'm 100 years old now, and the Brutale always draws a crowd. And it's funny, Joe had spent all day Saturday cleaning the bike, and of course, we knew it was going to rain somewhere in the course of this day. And he's getting a little frustrated with this camera that he bought that isn't working out the way he wanted to. So, and we have some of the guys that came over, and it's this whole thing of everybody wants to look at the RD. It's unbelievable. Now, ran into another guy, and of course he was one of the guys looking at the RD, so we have to pay a little tribute back. We went over to look at his rocket. And I had never really looked at one of these up close either, because I'm not into touring bikes. This was a really big motorcycle. This thing is really big. And we were looking at all the custom paint he had on it, and I mean, there had to be 100 chrome parts on it, and of course, the whole thing with touring bikes is you can just keep adding parts and adding parts. It doesn't matter what they weigh, as long as they're shiny. And this was no exception. There were skulls and crossbones and pirate flags, and it was ready to go, boy. And the motor, I mean, that could be a car motor. That is a really pretty motor. It's unbelievable. And I think the coolest part of this bike was that it had 2 pipes on one side and one on the other side, like an old H1 or an H2. Now, and these are the guys, this was another group of guys that came through. It wasn't the same ones, but we missed out on seeing all the high-end cars. But they're always up there from time to time, and we never really miss them. We just see them next time. I, in particular, like it when the Ferrari club goes through, or the Volkswagen club. Now, this guy impressed everybody. You know, he had to do his little baby burnouts. Now, I don't know, you know, if he really was dangerous or not, because the roads were really slippery. The roads were really not dry today. But you can see in the background there's more clouds coming. And to be honest, from about 3 minutes after this picture was taken, we rode home in some pouring crappy rain. Most of the ride home was not that really pleasant.